Hey, Unicorn Nation, what's up? Max here with another episode of the Unicorn Perspective. Today, sat down with two good friends of mine, Carrie and Lechon, who I've known for a few years now, and they're just incredible human beings, great people, lots of fun to talk with, which is, we have a great conversation on all kinds of things today, but they're also experts in online course creation. And they've helped us with our course in the past. They've done a lot of consulting and auditing of the stuff we've done in the info product space. And they're helping so many entrepreneurs right now, so many business owners right now who have physical businesses or maybe had a job in a certain industry but can't do that anymore, convert their skills, their knowledge, their expertise into an online course, into a digital product, which is something that smart businesses are doing now. Lots of gyms are doing right now. It's a really, really big trend with all the stuff that we're dealing with right now. Obviously, it was already a big trend before this, but it's just really sped up in the last few months, just like e-com has and other trends. And so we talk about everything in this interview. We definitely went over on time, which is always a good sign when you just get so deep into the conversation. We talked about everything from video games and fun entertainment to what's happening socially with people around the country, to friendships, to how you relax and de-stress, plus all the business stuff, right? How they're handling marketing, how they're handling their course business, how they're helping entrepreneurs get courses, take their knowledge and turn it into something that's marketable, monetizable. So just an amazing conversation, so much fun. It's always great when you have two guests as well, especially business partners and also partners in life, Carrie and Lechon. So really gonna enjoy this interview. I'll see you on the other side.
All right, what's up, guys? So Lechon and Carrie and I were just chatting, and it's another one of those times where I'm just chatting with friends, and we end up talking for quite a while before I actually realized we probably should record something. And so I need to remember next time that I'm going to give people the advance notice that as soon as I hit Skype and connect, it's going to start recording, so I don't forget to do that. Because you get so many fun gems and entertainment, right? Just us catching up, us chatting. So I know we're going to have some fun today. I have no idea what we're going to talk about yet. I'm still figuring it out in my head, but I'm sure we'll talk about something fun.
We'll get there.
Well, first of all, dude, we're happy to hang out with you, man. I miss you, brother. It's been a few months,
It's weird times where it's like you lose perspective on just like social interaction and being around people. And it's really weird how fast it happened. And if you just even watch people, like I had to go to Lowe's today because I decided I'm going to get a ladder and be a man and do stuff around the house now that I have a house, by the way, I'll stop there as a marketer. Like, Lowe's and Home Depot and that whole category, all the products that are sold in those stores have to be like one of the greatest forms of just fundamental marketing. There aren't many places, stores, brands like that you experience where when you go there, you feel this like deep primal desire to buy things that you have zero need for. Like maybe for me, Best Buy, I go to Best Buy and I see stuff and I'm like, yeah, I need a 4K outdoor camera. Like, sure, I'm never going to use it, or a Roomba or something. But like Lowe's and Home Depot, I walked into Lowe's and I needed a ladder, and I just started wandering down aisles, and I'm like, you know what? I need a 500 horsepower lawnmower that I'm going to sit on, and I also need this $1,000 nail gun set, and like. I'm not gonna I'll never buy it, but like you just start thinking about these things, like how cool would that be? Like I need that. I need to figure out. I'm gonna make a workbench. I'm gonna learn how to build and like drill stuff. It's really bizarre how that happens.
With a power drill. Well, man, I did start hanging random things too.
You did. There's a Han Solo's blaster is on the wall behind us in that direction. So I don't.
Why is that not your background? That's an awesome background.
Is it?
Okay.
There you go.
The house is called Rebel Headquarters, so
it fits the theme. Our crib is called Rebel Headquarters.
Yeah.
I love it. It's yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing now. Now that we moved in, like we had so much. I'd spent like 3 years growing my office. Right, if you watch like lives from when I first started doing Facebook Lives, it's like the same office, but me in like a corner and I had like 1-2 comic book trophy behind me, and that was it. And then every episode, I need to make like a time lapse, have our video guy do this, of like 2 years of my just videos and how the office changed. Because I just accumulated so much
Yeah, I was about to say you started accumulating
stuff,
a bunch of stuff.
just stuff. Like we were talking about before we went on, right? You guys give me these awesome comic books, and I'm like, they sat on my desk, like I were right there. But I'm like, I want to do something with these, but I have literally nowhere to put them. I have no wall space. I just have stuff everywhere. And so now I need to figure out like
Now you have
crap.
walls.
In due time, it's gonna show up.
Yeah, but now I need to I'm like, do I really want to redo all that? That was a lot of work just taking it down. And then the wall was destroyed. Like behind, if you look in the office now, we're not getting our deposit back on that apartment. It's just like stucco plaster. It's like white spots. It's holes everywhere. It's really bad. I'm like, we own this place. Do I really want our walls looking like that? I don't know.
It looks like sticky ones where you're just like adhesive.
Oh yeah, and they come right off.
That is
Yeah,
true.
those are great.
How about that? That's for you,
It's a
brother.
good idea.
You know, I
There you
was
go.
thinking about something that you said, and just in relation to how different things are in the world right now. If you go to a store, I know you didn't really go all the way into like your experience with Home Depot, but it is really strange how fast it happened, or like in terms of how different people interact. Like I was telling Carrie the other day, like even just someone looking you eye to eye is a little bit of a strange experience, you know, because as people are walking around and like kind of avoiding each other and they have the masks on, their heads down in a way, you know, and they look eye to eye with you for like a second, it's like, oh my God, there's a human in there, you know? It's so weird.
I had this wild experience at Trader Joe's that stood out to me now, but like normally would have been like nothing. I was in Trader Joe's by myself and trying to put this like, I don't know, pack of water underneath my cart, and I couldn't, he wasn't with me because now you shop alone, right? And I couldn't hold my cart still and hold this heavy thing at the same time. And this random lady like came and held my cart for me. And it was like this complete random act of kindness moment where you're like behind a mask and you're like, do I say words? Could you hear words? If I said words, can you see that I'm smiling? I'm just like nodding thank you at her. It's just like such a bizarre, like.
Did you yell at her for touching your cart?
No.
Yeah, my cart, don't help me.
But think about that. Like how crazy it is where you're actually doing that calculation in your head now of like that lady probably did think about it. It's like, I want to be nice and do this, but there's like a 50% chance that doing that, I'm going to get attacked like somehow. It's going to end badly and I'm going to be a viral meme or something.
Oh my gosh.
It's super weird. I've had like also really strange experiences with like homeless people. Like when I see certain homeless people and you know, I'll look at them and I start really just kind of wondering about their story and how they ended up like where they end up. And oftentimes, like I'll just go have a conversation and you know talk with them, and just share in being humans and give them money or food or whatever, and just try to make their day a little bit better. And there's been a few times where I didn't, you know, I felt that like resistance because I didn't know what they've contracted, and I didn't want to pass it on to my daughter or my son who've got asthma or my wife, you know, and it's just like a weird thing. There's like all these barriers up, and I really, you know, it's taken some adjustment. I don't like it, man.
Yeah, I'm ready to get back to hugging, but
what is, you guys can hug, which is great, and I can go upstairs and hug Larissa, which is awesome.
There you go.
yeah.
It's sad if it's, what's really tough is, and I'll get back to the Lowe's story, remind me, because that was the whole point of this, but what's really sad is like the people that are by themselves like that. It's hard enough if you have your family or you're married because you have somebody, but like if you're just like a single guy or single woman that kind of works at home now, like you have like almost no social contact, and that's the long-term repercussions that will be interesting. But the Lowe's story was just like how fast behavior changed. And as a marketer and just somebody that's like really into like human behavior and human thought process and just how people evolve over time and also how things don't evolve, there's just so much primal like DNA in us, and our brain is developed over time, but also still has a lot of, you know, hardwired stuff that we're not even conscious of that happens because we needed it 5,000 years ago. Right. But like the change in just going to the store and now thinking about, okay, I'm not going to go down this aisle because there's a person down this aisle. Like just all the little things that people do now of, oh crap, this person's walking towards me. Like I'm going to go back and walk around. Like it's pretty wild when you just observe it. Like there's a super target now by us here. We're closer to like the Waterford Lakes UCF area.
Yeah.
Massive target. And it's always super busy because it's by UCF. And you can just see people just maneuvering and just, people like getting close, like 50 feet and then like going different directions and stuff.
You're like,
it's, yeah, not going close to each other in the same aisle. It's, and I'm curious of like how that rebounds, right? Like certain behaviors, once they change, it takes a long time to change back. Right. Mm-hmm. And so obviously there was an impetus for people to change. There was a lot of fear, and fear is a really strong emotion. And once like the fear is removed, you're not really running away from something anymore, but so you have less motivation, I guess, to go back. It's not as strong of like a pull. So I'm curious to see like, hey, 2 years from now, are people still avoiding each other? Are people still avoiding handshakes, or see people still avoiding hugs? Like that's what I'm fascinated. It makes it sound like I'm like looking forward to it, but fascinated from just a kind of studying standpoint to see what happens.
Functions at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of things that are happening kind of simultaneously that are going to energize that kind of behavior in a way. Like, so for example,
one?
Like
hugging or staying away?
Staying away.
Okay.
Like, so for example, like
it's very important.
If you go to any stores or anything like that, they'll say like, oh, there's a coin shortage, and all these things that would previously be nothing that you would think of. You just hand the dollar if you pay for the thing or a coin or something, and you just know that they're doing everything that they can to remove those kinds of interactions, and then in a couple of years, it's just not even going to be thought of. It's going to be like, well, I'm not giving you money. This is my card. Like,
you tap into the microchip in your brain and say, I'd like a pizza. And
I said 2 years ago, not 20.
Yeah.
I say 5.
Send me a pizza.
Well, what's crazy though is like what you said, you've taken these big chunks of the population that typically would take years and years to adopt new technology and new behaviors. And they've been forced to adopt things, right? So 6 months ago, most people, weren't using Uber Eats to get all their food. Most people weren't using Instacart to get all their groceries. Most people weren't, shopping online for everything. Obviously there's still a big chunk that were, it's not like e-commerce was a new thing, but now people have been forced to do that because they were, they've stayed home. So you've now shrunk this like 10-year adoption curve into 3 to 6 months. And that's going to be wild to see how that impacts. Like, okay, if it took 10 years to hit a certain mass adoption for e-com, right, for penetration there, and then there were certain technologies that it was a prerequisite for that much adoption to then get this next thing, like how fast the curve increases for new technologies and new trends, just because so many more people are using it and there's so much more money and investment going into it now.
Yeah.
That's going to be pretty crazy to see.
Man, I'm really interested in like how this impacts us from like a relationship standpoint. If you look at like social media and how people have previously acted on it, it's almost like they would look at it and they say stuff there and they think that it's just like a place to say stuff. But now it's most likely going to be the main place where people develop their relationships. It's really going to have to be handled in a completely different way.
I kind of think you're always responsible for what you say. No matter
You are, but I think a lot of people just think it's like, oh, I'm just it's just a place I say stuff. It's not that big of a deal. Whatever I think about this political thing, it's just my thoughts. And there's like all these consequences that are invisible to them.
Yeah, things have definitely gotten a lot more real. There's a lot more tangibility to social media, I think, today, because you've lost like a lot of the physical world. And so I get what you're saying. Like for a long time, social media has ironically been like antisocial. It's like the thing that you do when you don't want to spend time with friends. But now it's like you're really forced. you're forced to use social media for all your interactions, or FaceTime or Zoom, whatever it might be. And so it definitely changes that. But I mean, relationship wise, like, we've lost so many of the things that we used to like to do, to just de-stress, to get away, to get out. Like, we were joking, Larissa and I, the other night, like, we're big movie fans, right? Like, we love going to the movies. We would go probably maybe 2 times a month because we just liked it. It was like a ritual for us. We'd go, we'd get our snacks, we'd get our, it just was a whole thing. Yeah. And you don't do that anymore. It's, and what I worry about is, and I know people watching too, like, they're like, are you talking about marketing at all? Like, no, we'll talk about some business stuff towards the end, but this is all relevant and important. And if it's not, it's interesting for the three of us. And that's what I care about right now. But like, what I worry about is huge chunks of the real world and just routines and events that people used to do getting completely eliminated, right? Like, movie theaters, I don't know if I think everything survives to an extent, right? For God's sake, there's still a Blockbuster, right, in Bend, Oregon, and they're doing some really interesting marketing stuff with Airbnb, and we can talk about that. They're doing like a '90s nostalgia night. Yeah, they just tweeted for the first time in like 6 years yesterday.
Oh no!
Oh, sorry.
There you go. Teaching. Yeah, they're doing a thing with Airbnb for 12 people that win a sleepover. They get the keys to the Best Buy, and they set it up like a '90s living room with all '90s movies and video games, and they can come over and. Yeah, we can't win, unfortunately. But anyway, yeah. So even Best Buy is still technically, I mean, Blockbuster is still technically there, but like, movies, I mean, you can't survive. Like, it can't open. They're massive pieces of real estate. I mean, and then what's happened is all the production companies are starting to realize, like, hey, this video on demand thing is actually backing out for us, and like, we're doing some big numbers bypassing the theaters. Yeah, so if
it makes sense for them from a business perspective, whenever things are okay.
So even if it does open up, do movie theaters become, do they become like what potentially malls are going to happen, where it's just the number of them shrinks substantially. There's a handful left that maybe show the next, Avengers movie, Phase 4 movie that comes out, Marvel movie, or do people go back to them? I don't know, and I worry about that.
Yeah, we went to the drive-in for my son's birthday, and it is like kind of talking about what you're talking about here, like watching your socialization through your children's eyes during this point is so different. My son is about to start his senior year in high school. And I was telling him, I'm like, man, the summer before my senior year in high school was the best time. It was like the best summer of my life, barring not having this one. But like, it was so much fun, the beach every day with friends. And, it was just like good experiences left and right and planning and dreaming. And I'm like, literally, he's up in his room playing video games. And I'm like, move every so often so you don't get bed sores. Like, like I have to say this to a 17-year-old. I'm like, you have to go for one walk a day. Like, we go to the beach once a week, but he won't come to the beach. And it's just like, it's so weird because he's got his phone and his Snapchat and his Xbox and his conversation with his friends, but it's not like that, we have.
And again, and it shrunk. Like, I think I was already seeing that, right? I think it was all obviously happening. We see each generation is getting a little more disconnected, and they're more into the technology. But I think there was still a big chunk of high schoolers and middle schoolers and stuff that still went out and played sports and still did activities, right? Maybe they spent a lot of their time on social and just like in their rooms, but like still had places to go and outlets, be able to go on dates, right? Like, I used to remember in high school, middle school, you'd go to the movies and your parents would drop you off and you'd go on a date and you'd have, a bunch of the girls and guys, like all those memories and things. You go to the boardwalk, you go to the beach, and again, like it's behaviors change and they're hard to change for, people like us. But like, if you're, that like prime learning age in your, teens and preteens, and you spend a year or 2 years and like this becomes the new normal, it's going to be hard to like
how are you
change that back.
Yeah. I don't know. He's taking online PE virtually through the high school district, and then he's taking like
Online PE.
three
I just
online classes through the community college. And I'm like trying to think of like how can I motivate him or get him excited for actual college when it comes back. I'm just like, what, or when he's ready for it. It's just so wild right now to even think
I
about.
just have to disappear to Nepal or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll help. If I
Yep.
disappear in Nepal,
You know
no, if
us.
he, us,
We
all
go
of
and
us.
The
go
whole
on
family.
adventures. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, man. I don't know.
We're
Yeah, I
going
heard
hiking next
Nepal's
week.
good. I heard Nepal is everyone in the movie theaters are open and everything's good there. So
Really?
I just made that up. No,
Okay. I'm like, someplace has movie theaters? That's exciting.
I think
am
I would
scared
move.
about that, man. Just because, like, when I think of this stuff, like, there are things that I just really took for granted when I was a kid. Like, oh man, go to the movies and like all you said, all the things you said. Go to something, hang out with your friends. It just seemed like it was natural and normal, which for me it was, but now it's like really taboo and potentially dangerous. It's not even worth the risk to go to the movies as bad as I want to go. It's like, oh man, how do we recover from that? Anyways,
Yeah.
it's just something that's present for me that I'm thinking about a lot, I guess.
Yeah, and it really really hits you when you see like all the big video game manufacturer makers release their earnings in the last month, and it's all Electronic Arts and stuff. It's just through the roof. Like they had Nintendo had their best quarter ever since like the Wii came out, I think, or something crazy. It just that says a lot, I think, when there's just record sales of video games and things like that of what people are doing. And I'm guilty of contributing to that because I played
Me too.
I've played
So
probably 20 hours of Ghost of Tsushima in the last
oh
2 weeks.
man, you played that? That game looks so
Well, as
badass.
long as you're moving every so often.
Oh yeah, still get a daily
I've
meditation
been
workout
waiting for,
in.
like, I think I'm gonna wait till the PS5. I didn't get the PS4. I just kind of held out on that one. I had every other PlayStation and usually Xbox stuff too, but that game is probably gonna make me get it. It looks
You're
so
missing
good.
out. It is epic. It's like Assassin's Creed, but in feudal Japan as a samurai.
Yeah.
But the graphics are insane. Like that, we're getting so close, with the exception of Halo's demo for the new Xbox, which looked like a PS3 game, which is really embarrassing. They're delaying that now, which that'll be crazy to see how that impacts Xbox sales because that was their flagship, and now they're delaying it to 2021. So I don't know
Wow.
how that'll work out. But yeah, I mean, we're getting so close to just like lifelike games and Ready Player One stuff where we're just like entering another world and spending more time there than we spend in the physical world, which again I think that's speeding up because of the physical world is becoming more and more dangerous. So people just
People are like, disappear me into the video game world. Oh my gosh, man. I am excited to see where gaming is gonna go with all of this too, because it is having way more people just kind of immersed in this virtual world. I'm there already. I've been there since 1985.
ready to go.
ColecoVision. Yeah, I had ColecoVision. Then I went on to Nintendo. All the systems in between, not all of them. I didn't have the Jaguar, but a lot of.
Dreamcast.
I had Dreamcast, of course. Dreamcast is amazing. Sega Genesis, the whole thing, the whole nine. But when I go back and play those games now, because on Xbox they have like this. I guess you can get some of the old school games. So I got some of the Sega Genesis ones, and it is a very different gaming experience.
Yeah.
It is not the same, not even close. I'm like, how did I think this was so amazing then?
You forget those kind of 2D just side
Yeah,
scrollers.
yeah, you forget. Oh my goodness, but
And they were epic. I would wake up. I remember like my Christmas morning when I was like 8 or 10 to go down to the basement and play like Jurassic Park on I forget if it was Sega or one of the consoles or the Toy Story game, and it was just epic. And now you look at it, it's like, oh, that's so boring. It's so awful. It's just a slow like thing of like venom that comes spraying at you. You jump over it, and that's basically
that's
a whole
it.
level.
I feel like e-gaming is about to like really, really go to the next level, especially with like all the other sporting events being in danger. Like, I don't even know if the NFL is going to play. I mean, I'm hoping, but mostly I'm going to probably be living through Madden on any
Doesn't
kind
that
of.
blow your mind? Like I
It's
was
so
I was talking
weird.
to Lewis about this. I was like, because especially on Call of Duty, there, you know, like there's so many on YouTube, like so many, you know, videos and stuff. I'm like, some of these guys have like 50 million subscribers, and they're making tens of millions a year. I'm like, why am I doing digital I need to I'm gonna start just gaming full time and Twitch, and maybe I'll do gaming and marketing. I'll game and talk about marketing at the same time in entrepreneurship.
Dude, I wanted to do this like e-gaming summit. I mean, it kind of fell off the rails because I got distracted with some other projects, but I really wanted to do that, like kind of combining the worlds of taking like people that are gamers and like building up all these audiences, but then they didn't really have products. They're kind of like hustling other people's products, like their chairs and their stuff. I was like, man, we should like really share with them some marketing and digital product development things. That'd be badass.
I like that. I think, and this goes into, you know, we can transition this into your business and talk some marketing and stuff. Like the, they all do, a lot of these guys, like, and girls, depend on, you know, sponsorships and yeah, basically becoming affiliates for like other gaming brands. But there's definitely more opportunity for them if they either, you know, created their own product lines, their own brands, or like taught how to do it, right? You put together a course on how to become a, you know, a professional, you know, gamer for Call of Duty, or professional Twitch streamer. Like there's a lot of opportunity there.
There's
So
tons.
maybe we can start something where we just
Yeah.
now get to game and then teach gamers how to start their
Love it.
own
I would love
streams,
it.
monetize their audience better, build a gaming course, and then just live the dream. Play Call of Duty 12 hours a day
All about it.
and
I get
and
totally do
just
it.
talk shit. That's
Carrie's like, I resist because she only plays Injustice.
I can't go past 2D, but I just can't. I get so confused. We did the Star Wars one, and then like I ended up looking up at the sky in the game, and I'm like, I can't get this. But no, if you guys can figure out, I mean, as long as everyone's okay with it, yeah, figure out how to monetize that, and have fun.
I'm all
I'm
about
good.
that life. I want to see because I've been paying as of late like a lot of attention to what's going on in crypto and digital assets and all that kind of stuff. I really want to see like some kind of blockchain technology connected to gaming. I know I've seen different things like, oh, I guess EA Sports is supposed to come out with a thing or something. I don't know. It hasn't looked legitimate yet, but I'm paying attention to it for sure.
yeah. I mean, that somebody will crack that, especially now, because again, it's you force adoption. It's people aren't using paper money anymore. People are moving away from, you know, the U.S. dollars is looking super weak. It's had a really bad few months, and you know you, I don't want to get too boring and dry here, so I'll try to avoid this topic. We'll do it quick, but the whole concept of money, I mean, is interesting because like the dollar has no value. Like the value is just an interesting concept because it's all relative, right? It's like this dollar is worth something because other people say it's worth the same thing and are willing to accept it, right? Like everybody in the world basically accepts a dollar for a dollar. Like they price something in dollars and you can buy that thing anywhere in the world for that. But it's all based on this just collective trust. Like
Agreement, yeah.
that shit, it boggles my mind. And you talk about crypto, like just currency in general, like how crazy is that? When we take it for granted, right? Like everyone takes for granted that I can go to you know, Subway or Best Buy and the sandwich costs $6 or the TV costs $500, and okay, give me the money, you give me the product. And I can go to California and I can do the same thing. I can go to, you know, London, do the same, like, and it's just because the other person is willing to accept it, and the business has said that that's what it's worth. And if people just said like, I don't agree, like it's just paper. I don't agree that it's worth this. Like
500.
it's crazy how you can get, you know, what, 5-6 billion plus people to kind of all just say, yeah, we'll go with it. Like some, you know, the U.S. kind of central bank and world governments and world central banks have all just said like, this is the world currency and this is what the value of it is. So just There's no reason why it's worth that. We have no more gold backing it. Like we're off the gold standard. So there's nothing actually behind this, but
On
you
digital, bro.
use it.
It's digital gold. That's it.
But even think about that. Like again, it's just like the problem with any cryptocurrency is that it's the advantage of the dollar and like modern currencies right now is the lack of volatility because it's more established and it's more accepted and there's more trust. But like for a cryptocurrency to become super mainstream and replace a dollar, it needs to get super stable, right? Like because the problem people have is like, if I'm a car dealer,
It's volatile. Yeah.
like if I'm a car dealer, I got to buy inventory, buy these cars for, $10, $20, $30,000. But then if all of a sudden the currency I used to buy it now is worth half of what it was, now I just lost all my money. Like, so yeah, you need to have like major companies, major government institutions all kind of get behind something and say that this is going to be a kind of new standard currency. And I don't know when that happens. I'd imagine it would require like the dollar the dollar basically something horrible happening and it just losing massive value or losing trust, and then they need to replace it with something, which isn't that far fetched based on what's happening right now with like the government printing trillions of dollars and all that good stuff.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we've been talking about like wanting to invest in the future of moving overseas and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I've lived in Europe for a little while and now I'm like missing it. I'm like, I just love just the freedom of it. And I think it's just kind of connected to how things used to be before the COVID, collapse. So I'm like, I don't know, man.
What do you mean?
That didn't make sense?
No, not to me. And I know you.
Oh, no, I was saying that like we've been thinking about like moving overseas and where we're going to live in the future and how things are going to be in the US and all that kind of stuff. Just exploring it. But all of that some of that's tied to, we don't really know what's going to happen with the economy and all this craziness politically.
Well, I think a lot of people are feeling a lack of freedom right now.
For sure.
And so like your time when you were exploring freedom the most would have been overseas, even though you're in the Marines, you still had time to like hop different countries and go play,
Make the time.
So.
Yeah,
Well, travel's still one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
That I cannot do right now. I mean, I could travel down the road.
We're going to the mountains next week, so.
We are going to the mountains. I'm so looking forward to that. Oh.
Yeah. Just some hiking. No people, just mountains and trees. I'm
No, I want to
excited.
go like whitewater rafting.
You may.
You about it?
No.
Have you ever been?
I went when I was in 8th grade on a 8th grade trip. Every year, the 8th graders went whitewater rafting. It was fun. It's slightly terrifying, but it's not as terrifying if you're in like the bigger rafts. What freaks me out is the people that are in the canoes where they're kind of in at the waist, because I feel like if you flip over, like I get now, I imagine they have like quick release ones or something like that, but like I feel like the older ones, you're just kind of stuck in there and then like you're underwater and you're dead.
Yeah.
It's slightly terrifying. I love that.
Well, see, unfortunately, my parents took us last year, and before they went, they didn't take me. Before they went, my stepmother decided to tell us how the raft flipped, and then she was stuck underneath, and my father stepped on her head to get back in the raft, and I was like, oh, forget all of this.
He's very practical.
Yeah.
I sat with her at the Great Smoky Mountain National Park and just waited for them to get done, and I think that's probably what I'll do again.
I think it's men first, right? Not women and children. It's just a bunch of guys like putting women's head underwater to get back onto the raft.
He meant to. I think he was just climbing back in and was like haphazard, and his glasses came off or
This
something.
thing's pretty stable.
But apparently got her on the knockout.
That's
Hey,
so
when you're threatened, when you're in danger, your brain just switches on, and all that stuff about like social norms and rules and etiquette goes out the window. It's just survival.
out the window, step on
It's
your
just
wife's
survival.
I don't think he
gosh.
meant it, but yeah, I was like, I'm definitely not getting in a raft with him, but for sure not getting in a raft with
Yeah, you should just interview everyone. Ask everyone in the family, how do you handle pressure? Like, tell me about a situation where you were in danger and how did you react? Did you trample over somebody?
He's
That's
thrown
so bad.
grenades, So I think I'm okay with him. Like, if you can throw a grenade, you can handle pressure.
Yeah,
You'd be
it's a
good.
lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever thrown a grenade, but one thing they
I
don't
throw them
tell
every now and then. Just I have a back in the backyard. Just I have a box of
yeah,
yeah
for sure. But one
some
thing they don't tell
landmines.
you, like in the movies, is like in the movies they pull the pin and they like do a stance and they just toss it over their head and then it blows up and you're
Ow.
like, oh, I should run. You know, it looks like it's very easy to get away from, but like in real life, if you pull the pin, the only thing holding it together is now your hand pressure because the clip literally is just against your hand and this metal ball jammed with C4. And I didn't know that before I pulled a grenade. They just don't tell you that. And it can easily like just drop, and then you must throw it as far as you possibly can. It's crazy town.
And what if you can't throw far?
You will learn very
Then you
quickly.
die. You die.
You're done. Oh my gosh. Yeah, grenades. But yeah, I'm good under pressure.
Yeah. Are you good under pressure, Max?
I'd like to think so. Until I hear stories like that, and then it's totally relative, right? Like you think, yeah,
Yeah.
in my pretty pampered, easy life, I'm pretty good under pressure. But if I'm just handed a box of grenades, and
You're like,
although I've done a fair amount of shooting and stuff like it is like wild how your body reacts to like when you go to like the shooting range,
yeah.
and especially if you take people that never gone before, and like after the first few shots they still know what's going to happen, like they know the sound, like to expect it, but you still watch them and it's just like every time a shot it's like, and it is crazy to just like watch that in people when they go to a range. Even if you like the first few times you go, the first dozen times you go, it's people react very
It's
in a kind of
jarring,
very
I
nervous.
think,
Yeah.
people. I mean, it's loud. You can feel the power of it, the impact of it. I think it takes like quite a while before you become kind of like used to that feeling and kind of like in tune with it in a way. Um, yeah, I get that for sure.
But yeah, never threw a grenade. Shot a 50 cal rifle, which is about the biggest thing in
Snipers or
Vegas. Yeah, a
sniper?
Barrett 50 cal,
Yeah, 50 cal Barrett.
which
Yeah,
was hysterical,
the B.
like terrifying but hysterical. Like the place we went in Nevada, you drove like 3 hours outside of Vegas. It's like a mile basically where that setup is, and there's like a development of houses. So maybe like the targets are like half a mile or so. It's not like super, it's like not as far, but like the houses are definitely within like the effective range of a 50 cal sniper. Like if you shot at an angle, and so they like watch you very carefully. Like you can't angle up. Like they stand there. And like we used to have people, like we had one guy one time shoot up and like blew out like the power for that neighborhood because there was like power lines, and like hit it, and like
Wow.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know what came first, the range or the houses, because if the
yeah,
range was
yeah,
there and you
yeah.
bought the houses, it's like, by the way, there's like a small chance that a massive 50 cal round could come through your house at some point.
God.
Small, small
Small
chance.
chance.
I mean, they've got crazy range and velocity. I think it's like 75,000 pounds of like, pressure per square inch, like from a 50 cal round. It's crazy. Anyways, but yes, weapons.
Yeah.
Carrie loves
Grenades,
them.
all kinds of stuff.
Love weapons.
Oh my gosh, man.
There's
Huh.
actually a sword behind me, if you can see right there.
Oh, I
We
can
got
see.
blasters on the wall, swords behind us. That's how
Yeah.
we're doing it here.
That was my stepdad's. And so when guys used to come to pick me up in high school, he'd just point to that and then he'd say, like, have
I'm
her
gonna
home by
chop your balls
11.
off.
And that was the end of the conversation.
He didn't say
I
that.
didn't say that part. No.
That reminds me of, yeah, my dad. This is a funny story. He back in our house in Allentown, New Jersey, where I spent most of my years for high school. I like collected like swords and stuff. My dad would always like when he traveled a lot, so whenever he come back, he'd bring back like a cool like dagger or weapon. Like they were all like replica guns and stuff, like muskets and like different places that he'd bring it back from. And they were all usually like, dull and stuff. But every now and then I get like a cool replica sword. Like I had the sword from Blade, which is still one of the coolest swords, and it was like legit sharp. Like that thing could do some damage. And I had like throwing stars and all kinds of cool stuff. And I remember like when I was at college, I guess the alarm went off at home. My mom and dad were home, and it was a big house without, like, it was just the two of them. And my dad went to my room because they heard something like downstairs. And like, out of all the things that he could grab, there's like swords, like all things you didn't want. Like, there's somebody in the house. Like, I got all these weapons I can grab. He grabbed like a ceremonial like fungo bat from like Mexico, like a super long, thin like bat, basically like a ceremonial baseball bat, but it was like hollow. And that's what he grabbed and like walked downstairs with it. It cracks me up still to this day. Like, all the things he could have.
It's hard to remember when things are going on though. Like, before we got together, I had somebody like I thought was breaking into my house, like one of the or was trying to pull on the doors, and so I went and locked myself in the bathroom. But like, I randomly had a hockey stick in my room, and like I didn't bring the hockey stick with me. I was like, if this guy gets in, I have a plunger. Like, I have nothing. I'm like texting my ex-husband, tell the kids I love them.
I'm gonna plunge his face.
Like,
I'm gonna plunge you.
Yeah, like, what am I gonna do now? I'm stuck in the bathroom.
It's gonna shock him so much with a plunger. Like, he's gonna be like, wait, you have a plunger? And then just run. And he's not gonna know what to do.
Here, catch.
That would probably not work out in your benefit. No.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
The police got there.
You left the hockey stick? Why would you have a random hockey stick anyways?
I don't know. I don't know. The things you get into divorce. It's just
random things.
I'm taking the hockey stick with me.
This hockey stick's coming with me. That's hilarious.
You can have all the beach towels, but I get this hockey stick. And it's just like a really random divvying process when you get divorced. So don't do it.
I just gave away everything.
Yeah.
I was just like, just have it. Just have all the stuff.
I'm gonna start fresh.
I'll get some more stuff than I did.
I love most of the things.
No, I get you. Keep that hockey stick though.
Yeah, I love the house. I was like, here's the house.
That's how you gotta do it. That's how you do it. Leave the bad juju with them. They can have it.
You can have everything except this one hockey stick. That's it.
You're not getting this. Sentimental value. Oh my gosh. Have you seen like a big difference between how people are responding as like entrepreneurs, like the whole marketing world and all that?
Oh yeah, this is a show for entrepreneurs. I forgot that's the point. We're 40 minutes in, and I just
I'm just curious.
Just
like,
forgot.
I've seen like so many different ways that people are attempting to market online. And some of it's a little bit cringeworthy, and I'm like, wow, you're kind of. I know you're losing humanity in your real life in a way, but it's almost like translating.
Yeah, it was already so. In my opinion, and like based on what I see, because we see a lot of stuff just for our students and just being somebody in the industry, it was already bad. Like pre-COVID, like between drop shippers and all that stuff, like it was already lots of people using deceptive tactics, fake inventory counters, and like it cracks me up. So I posted the other day in one of our groups, saw an ad for a canvas company. It sells like entrepreneurial canvases, and I clicked on it because as we talked about earlier, we buy too much art and too much canvas. So anytime I see a cool canvas, I'm like, oh, cool, I'll check it out. Plus, Startup Drugs was my original e-com store, and it was similar. So like, I'll check this out. And I was looking at it, and it's like, okay, there's, the images were all obviously like stock. Like, there's plenty of like generators out there. You can throw your canvas logo and like design up, and it looks like it's on a nice wall. And I recognize like these are all just stock, and that's fine. Not everyone has the budget to order all their stuff and do a photo shoot. But then I saw the fake, only 6 left, and I'm like, okay, well, I know where you're making them from, and it's on demand, so you have unlimited left, so there's not 6 left, and that was like one thing. And then it was like a flash sale deal thing, which I knew was fake. But then the crazy one was like the reviews below, which were all like first name only, and were all very generic and like aimed perfectly at addressing questions somebody might have. But what was funny is the photos that they use for the customers, because a lot of those apps like Yotpo and stuff, you can submit a photo of your product, like the person with the product and the review, were the same photos as like the product photos. So it was just like the mock-up generator. So it's like they didn't even try. And then some of the reviewers were using the same photo, and I was just like, oh, this is so. If you're gonna like do that stuff, at least be like try, like put like 5% effort into making it like being slightly better at deceiving people. But yeah, I mean, I still see it. We were seeing a ton of stuff like that of, people selling the same, trashy product from China that took, 12 weeks to get here, and people would get it and it would be like a different color, or just like low quality products, no brand, all the things you shouldn't be doing to build something, an asset that you can actually, sell one day. I think what happened with COVID is like a whole new wave. There was already too many people, I think, trying to get into it because of the money, because all the courses and stuff. But now it's like a whole new wave because a lot of people lost their jobs and needed to figure something out. And people started seeing, hey, this, e-commerce thing, more people were hearing about it and like kind of investing their time into learning about it. And there were just product categories for essentials that were primed for deception. Anytime there's widespread fear, there's always going to be people who capitalize on that fear. Like that happens anytime there's a major tragedy or event. There's always a group of people that come in, and this is the lowest hanging fruit. And so with this, there was a whole group of people that came in with masks and gloves and hand sanitizer and stuff. And listen, if you legitimately have a brand that was already doing that, that's one thing. So there were people like Jeremy's business coach and our friend Dave LaRue, who you met at the mastermind. Dave's an incredible guy, and he owns a very, very large chemical company. And that chemical company actually had this really cool patented formula they've had for years that uses, it's a different type of ingredient for basically creating a barrier in your hands. Super innovative product. And they were already selling it, and it was already a thing. And, we helped them bring to market. Like, we didn't run the ads. We didn't want to get involved in that capacity, but we helped them connect to the right people to bring that product to market. And from that perspective, it was because that was like really, really early days. And it's like, hey, these people actually have a high quality product that actually works. And they didn't just start a brand because of this. So that's one thing. I think that there were legitimate cases like that, but then there were a lot of people who were like a few weeks, like when it was happening in China, people were buying bulk K95 masks, and they were buying bulk, PPE equipment from China and from other places, and they were hoarding it, and then they were selling it when doctors needed it and stuff. So it was a fine line. And so, yeah, I think ethics have eroded, quite a bit. I think
that's a good way to say that.
The standards have eroded a little bit. The reasoning, like big picture thinking, I think is eroded. Like, I think a lot of people getting into it now are not getting into it thinking, hey, I want to build something, and I have 3, 5, 10-year goals, and I want to build a brand that, I can sell for $50 million one day, or that can go public, or like, I have friends that have e-com brands that are badass, amazing brands that they've been working on for years and I put everything into, and they're now worth 50, 100, $200 million because they've built actual business and actual brands. And most people don't want to do that because it takes a lot of time. You reinvest a lot of your earnings. You got to build a team. You got to do a lot of stuff. And there's not a lot of shortcuts there. But right now, there's a lot of shortcuts making money, or at least there were. I think it's changed now. We can talk about why I think it's changed, but yeah, that's my thinking on it.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed ethics eroding. It's a little bit weird too, because in social media, I guess a lot of the entrepreneurs and businesses that we notice are people that we know or are kind of in the space, and to a degree, it brings everyone down in a way, because it communicates that this is how we function here. It's super weird, man. Ethics eroding.
I haven't seen too much of this. I think I'm just in a bubble. I don't know. I'm probably the person buying everything I'm seeing on my screen. So like, oh, I just bought like this pillow that's supposed to help my neck. I'm like at my acupuncturist. So what kind of pillow should I get? And he's like, orthopedic. And then I see an orthopedic pillow. I'm like, I don't know if this works. Click, So I think I'm a sucker right now. I classify myself as a sucker.
I mean, it's not. It's easy, I think, for people to say that's like not their battle, right? They're not doing that, but and not like, hey, they should come in and be some justice warrior about it. But I think it does, really negatively impact how everyone else is perceived in the industry. Now, we're not really in e-commerce or any of that kind of stuff, but we're seeing like similar things in online education for sure. People that aren't actually experts at their thing, or they don't actually know what they're talking about, and then they come to us to help them be coached into looking like they know what they're talking about. And it's like, I don't want to do that. That's not the game we're in,
Yeah, I mean, you guys are in another booming market. I think that the two areas that have grown a lot are obviously e-com, but also info, because if you have huge chunks of the economy that are shut down, whether it's, carpentry or different things like that, where whatever it might be, right? You have these people now that can teach that stuff. And so it's, hey, I can't do this anymore. Maybe you had a small business that did, gourmet cupcakes, right? A small business that repaired things for people. Well, my small business now is out of business because I can't run it. But guess what? I can teach people how to do it. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of opportunity there, and there's a lot of people getting into it. But again, like anytime there's a massive opportunity, there's also going to be people that try to, capitalize on that probably shouldn't be capitalizing on it. And so it's always a balancing act of, there's going to be good actors and bad actors in anything that you do.
Yeah.
For sure. Good actors for the win. I would
Yeah.
say humanity for the win. Because that really
Just
is-
good actors.
Just good actors.
Just good actors.
Yeah.
The crappy ones, you suck.
Okay.
Man, it's just interesting to watch because all these things are happening almost in real time. Like we're seeing us evolve as humans right now, right away, in really dramatic ways.
Well,
Not
you're
that-
seeing people. Yeah. I mean, you're seeing people, you're seeing how different certain groups of people are. I guess that's a better way to put it. Like from an entrepreneur perspective and business owner perspective. So there was, when everything happened, there was a big chunk of people who said, holy shit, the world's over. And they put their head in the sand and hope that it passed. Right. I hope we figure this out in 3 to 6 months.
and drink a lot of wine.
And drink. Yeah. I'm going to pound some shots, put my head in the sand and just pray. And so you had gym owners and stuff that shut down. And like, instead of trying to think how they continue to deliver value to their customers, because listen, like just because your business was forced to close doesn't mean the customers who came to your business no longer need what they came to get. Right? Like that's the thing people forgot, is that the need for services and products didn't change. It just, the way they could get those services and products changed. Like the decision make interface and the way things were delivered and distributed changed. And so you had a lot of gym owners or bar owners and people like shut down and just pause, basically put the business on pause, which doesn't really work because you still got to pay your rent. You still got to pay a lot of things and you're not making any money. And then you had a percent that were like, hey, well, let me create a online training program and do at-home workouts or do Zoom training sessions, personal trainer, like, and those people are thriving. Like we're seeing a ton of really, really big at-home workout programs from companies like On It that we work with, like, and they're just crushing it because people still want to work out. People still need to reduce stress, and a lot of people still need guidance. And if they were paying, used to paying $40 a month for the, their gym membership, it's like, hey, I can pay $50 one time to get this 12-week program. Like it's a no-brainer. And unfortunately, fortunately, unfortunately, a lot of people didn't adjust fast. So there's still massive opportunities, as I'm sure you guys are seeing with your business, of people that have expertise and maybe they were impacted because they had a physical business, but now they can transition that to an online business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Thinkific had the numbers, and like right after lockdown began, online course sales went up 400%.
Yeah.
Just through that platform. Like 400%. That's a pretty big jump.
It's not a joke, yeah.
Yeah. So we've definitely seen a lot more course creators during this time and a lot more people purchasing courses during this time. But I mean, it was already kind of on that trajectory anyways.
Yeah,
So it's
just like
really
sped up.
exciting. Yeah. Like, okay, now we're just going to go faster. Foot on the gas,
Yeah, man.
But I think, I don't know, for me, Like you don't have to be perfect at something to make an online course, but I still want you to be an expert at it, even if the expertise is in tomato canning. You know what I mean? Or like building a part of the car. Like I don't speak car enough to translate that, but like if you know how to do that, then that's what you want to teach, then you should know what that is, you know? Um, and I'm just hoping that it doesn't become something where it is just like anybody creating is something that doesn't, you know, doesn't actually work for people.
Yeah, the challenge becomes for certain things is how do you vet them? Like I feel like for our industry, it's a little easier, like for marketing, because there's like some tangible stuff that you can see to benchmark success. But then
Right.
there's like this whole other world where you just said like tomato canning or like jarring or like more hobby based stuff that people are really interested in, want to learn, craft making, like, even just like home, remodeling, things like that, where it's like, how does that person effectively sell that they're the expert and not just some like, I'm just going to say, I can teach you how to do this. And then you watch a bunch of videos and it's like, well, I don't know if this is good or bad. Like, because you don't have benchmarks. It's like, I know if I buy a course on Facebook marketing from this person and I implement what they told me and I go to their Q&As and stuff and all my ads are awful and lose money, get rejected by Facebook. Like this person probably sold me some BS, but it's like, if it's certain activities where there's not as much of a, like, you don't even know what to look for necessarily because it's not as black and white where you either make money or don't make money, it becomes more difficult for, I think, that person to stand out. Not like, I'm curious if you guys are seeing that with the people that you work with.
As far as whether or not they know what they're doing.
as far as like certain industries and certain like expertises, if that's even a word, like how they're being sold and positioned, that they're actually an expert.
Yeah, so for us, we have a very intense screening process during the initial phone call. Like, actually, even there's an application before they can even get it on the phone in order to have the enrollment conversation and see if they're a good fit. Because there's a lot of things that we'll be able to see right away on whether or not they're a good fit.
Yeah.
Right. For me, I can tell really quickly if they're an expert or not if I get on the phone with them and talk to them. So like within the first onboarding call, I could tell you whether or not they know what they're doing. And it's two layers, right? So whether or not they know what they're doing as far as creating a course or how to teach or any of that kind of thing, that's what I help with. So that's not what I'm concerned about because that's what I can guide them through. But if they aren't an expert in what they are trying to teach, and it sounds like they want me to just create a course for them as opposed to with them, now we've got a problem.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how to can tomatoes,
I mean,
and I can't fix your car.
in fairness too, like we have a lot of layers when it comes to just working with us directly and all that kind of stuff, just because we want to work with people that, for one, they're actually looking to make the world better in a way. And also like what's their personality like, what are they like under stressful conditions, and like all these different things we want to know, because when it comes down to us working with the company or organization, when it comes to building their elements, when it comes to online courses or education, like we need to partner with them in a way. We're not looking for this like quick conversion turnover, bring us on, hire our team to do your thing, and then like that's it. Like we want to build things of value that actually make a difference. So that takes a lot more, I guess, choosing and the right people to work with. Not only their mission, but also what they're doing and the value of the thing they're going to put into the world, but like what it would be like to communicate with them, regularly interact with them. If we're not going to be, potentially partners or friends, like it's just not worth the time to spend on it for us in most cases.
It's an incredibly collaborative process. Like if I'm working with someone, I am all up in their bubble. And so if I feel like I have to sage myself after we're done with the conversation,
need a shower and talk to that person.
Yeah, like this is not what we're doing. So we have to know ahead of time.
Congruency. I think that's really what I'm saying, is like there needs to be like multiple levels of congruency. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
feel vibes.
Yeah,
and good
vibes and congruency. I like that. So Carrie, I know you have a hard stop in 2 minutes, so I want to be respectful of that. And that was a good transition to what you guys actually do. So if somebody's out there and they are a legitimate expert in something and they're thinking, hey, I would love to teach more people my gift or my skill or my craft. And, you know, and Carrie and Lechon seem like awesome people who I just want to work with and get to know better. Where do they go to do that? What's the best next step?
Yeah, they can just go to our website, connect with us online at www.of-course.us, and we got all kinds of stuff there, things to learn about us, ways to connect with us. Yeah, and if you have something that's really cool that you want to see go into the world with some velocity and some awesomeness, then we're happy to support you.
If you have good vibes.
If you're an awesome human.
So awesome people only. So ofcourse.us, and I'll make sure to put the link below. Yeah, we have a no asshole policy.
Yeah.
We do too.
Yeah.
We call it purpose-driven entrepreneurs, but that's what it means.
Just, I don't want any like people trying to interpret it. Just no assholes. That's
assholes.
it.
Go
We should
away.
probably write that.
Yeah.
I love it. So straightforward. Mm-hmm.
Awesome, guys.
Man,
Well,
thank you for having us.
Of course, I always have a blast chatting with you, and unfortunately, it was on me to get a late start because I didn't press record. But we'll have to do this again, and we'll block out some more time so we can chat for longer. But I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Stay safe, and I will see everyone else on the next episode. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Bye.